Welcome back to Meaningful Whispers. Tonight you drift into a room where time is not measured by seconds, but by breaths. You stand before a heavy oak door, its surface worn smooth by the passage of countless hands. Beyond it, faint ticking echoes like distant raindrops falling on hollow brass. The air feels denser here, carrying the faint metallic scent of oil and dust, a fragrance that belongs to centuries of patient hands turning tiny screws. A single lantern burns low, its golden light trembling like a nervous heart. And yes, your ego might not make it through unscathed, because what waits on the other side of this door is not just a man with tools, but a mind that dared to trap the cosmos itself inside a cage of gears. So, before we dive in, tap that like button and subscribe to Syphoria, only if these midnight mind voyages truly speak to you. Tell me, where are you listening from, and what time is it there? Let's see how far across the map of consciousness we stretch tonight. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You push open the door slowly, the hinges sighing like an old memory. The workshop greets you with silence, not the absence of sound, but the kind that hums beneath your skin. The first thing you notice is the glimmer of brass everywhere. Wheels, springs, pendulums, all scattered across tables in strange constellations. Each piece seems alive in its own quiet way, like sleeping insects ready to awaken with a spark. The clockmaker stands at the far end of the room, his back to you. His silhouette is bent slightly, not from frailty but from the gravity of thought pulling him inward. His hands move with impossible precision, adjusting a gear smaller than a fingernail. You don't yet see his face, but you already sense the weight of decades in the way he exhales. A long, slow release that sounds almost like relief, or perhaps resignation. On the wall above his workbench hangs an unfinished clock. It isn't like any you've ever seen. It's massive yet delicate, with rings of brass that overlap like the orbits of planets. Tiny spheres of polished metal hang from filaments so fine they seem like threads of light. It doesn't tell time in hours or minutes. No. This one speaks the language of seasons, eclipses, and stars. You realize with a faint shiver that this clock does not measure time for humans. It measures time for the universe itself. You step closer, feeling the floorboards sigh beneath your weight. Each breath you take feels deliberate now. Inhale, let the cool air of the workshop fill your chest. Exhale, release any noise within you, and let your body sink into this rhythm of quiet awe. The clockmaker finally speaks, his voice barely louder than the tick of a watch. People think time is a straight line, he says without turning, but time is a spiral, always folding into itself. You cannot see its shape until you listen long enough. A mainstream fact drifts into your mind: how medieval astronomers once built elaborate armillary spheres, delicate metal models of the heavens, to understand the motions of celestial bodies. Those instruments inspired wonder, but also fear, as if revealing the truth of the skies might reveal the fragility of the soul. And here stands a man, centuries later, doing the same. But there is an unusual twist, an anecdote you recall of a clockmaker in 18th century Prague who claimed his greatest masterpiece refused to stop, even after he dismantled it. Some whispered it was haunted, others said it was simply too perfect, having caught the heartbeat of its maker. Historians still argue whether such stories are truth or myth. Can a machine truly hold more than mechanics? Something unexplainable, a whisper of the human soul it was born from? The clockmaker lifts a single cogwheel into the dim light. It glows softly, edges sharp yet strangely graceful. He murmurs a quote, almost to himself, but you catch it. All truth is curved. Perhaps it was Nietzsche. Perhaps it was just him. The words linger like smoke. Your eyes wander to a tiny bell resting on the table. It's no larger than a thimble, yet when you touch it lightly, it rings with a tone so pure it feels as though it vibrates in your bones. For a fleeting moment, you sense the vast emptiness between planets, the stretch of silence between heartbeats. You close your eyes, breathe in, feel the brass scent, the faint oil, the quiet pulse of unseen mechanics. Breathe out. Imagine the ticking gears slowing your thoughts, each one falling into place like a puzzle long forgotten. A clever thought flickers in your mind. Time is the only prison where the bars are invisible, and we willingly stay inside. You almost smile at the irony, and just like that, you sense the workshop pulling you deeper, past the ticking of clocks, past the boundaries of the ordinary. You begin to feel that strange sensation, the one where you're not sure if you're standing in a room or floating at the edge of some vast, unmeasurable machine. The clockmaker finally turns his head, and his eyes, calm, sharp, and oddly kind, meet yours. "You came to see the universe," he whispers, "but you may find it doesn't look like what you imagine." The faint hum of a pendulum begins to echo louder, resonating not just in the air, but somewhere inside you. You take another step forward, and the clockmaker gestures toward a larger contraption shrouded beneath a velvet cloth. The fabric drapes like a heavy night sky, concealing secrets with a certain theatrical patience. You can almost feel your own heartbeat syncing with the soft rhythm of the pendulum behind him. Without a word, he draws back the cover, and what you see steals the breath from your chest. It's a brass orrery, larger than any you've ever imagined. A miniature solar system of gleaming spheres rotates in precise harmony, each orbit a perfect dance of balance and tension. Tiny moons circle their planets. Delicate arms extend outward like fingers pointing toward infinity. And beyond the planets, far along its polished arcs, lie constellations rendered in wire-thin brass. You realize with a quiet tremor that this is more than a machine. It's an echo of the cosmos, a universe born from human hands. But here's the strange part. As you watch, you notice something unsettling. The orbits don't follow the familiar paths you've known. It's as if the machine predicts movements beyond what any astronomer has charted. You catch a fleeting thought. Is this device reflecting the universe or rewriting it? The clockmaker watches your reaction. His eyes glimmer with the faint amusement of someone who knows more than he'll ever say aloud. "Brass remembers," he murmurs. "If you shape it carefully enough, it holds not just the present, but the possibility of all that could be." You recall a mainstream fact about timekeeping. The earliest mechanical clocks in medieval Europe didn't just tell time, they represented the order of the cosmos. Monks would use them to remind themselves of divine rhythm, of prayer, of eternity. To them, a clock was a bridge between the mundane and the sacred. But this feels different. This feels alive. There's an unusual anecdote lingering at the edge of memory. A 17th century rumor about a reclusive French horologist who built a clock so precise it was said to listen to the heartbeat of the earth. People claimed it predicted storms, births, even deaths. Of course, history has no proof it existed, but as you watch the brass orrery spin in silent majesty, you feel the same eerie possibility. And scholars still argue, could machines carry something more than logic? Could they reflect a maker's soul so deeply that they become almost aware? Some dismiss it as romantic nonsense. Others whisper that, when art and precision fuse so perfectly, something beyond reason stirs. The clockmaker reaches for a delicate winding key. With a careful twist, the entire model shifts. A tiny gear engages, and suddenly the spheres move with an audible hum, a sound like a distant choir made of metal. The room itself seems to vibrate with the resonance. You feel compelled to close your eyes. Inhale slowly, letting the cool workshop air wash through you. Exhale even slower and let your shoulders sink. The hum is oddly comforting, like the feeling of being gently rocked in a cradle of stars. The clockmaker's voice cuts through the vibration, soft but precise. Most people think they are moving through time, but really time is moving through them. A quiet quote from Jung slips into your mind. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. It lingers like a whisper in the workshop's dim air. You open your eyes and notice the faint reflection of yourself in the brass. You look distorted, as if you're part of the machinery, stretched along the curves of its arcs. For a fleeting moment, you feel as if you're not just observing the clock, you're inside it. Then a small, clever smile tugs at the corner of your mouth. Wouldn't it be ironic if the universe itself was just a clock, forgotten in someone's attic? The thought is absurd but comforting in its own strange way. The clockmaker notices your faint smile. Yes, he says softly, as if he heard your thought. But would you want to know who built it? He leads you toward another workbench, this one covered in blueprints. The diagrams are impossibly intricate, lines that fold into spirals, shapes that resemble both stars and seeds. One sheet shows a design for a clock that doesn't have hands, only concentric rings that seem to move inward and outward at once. He points to it. This one doesn't measure hours, he says. It measures moments, the kind you never forget, even when you want to. You touch the edge of the parchment and feel a strange shiver run down your arm. Is it the cool draft of the workshop or something deeper? The pendulum's hum slows slightly, and for the briefest second, you feel as if the air around you bends. The world seems quieter, softer, like a pause between thoughts. The clockmaker looks at you with quiet intensity. Shall we go deeper, beyond the brass and gears, beyond what you think time is? And you know, without him saying it, that this workshop isn't just a place of invention, it's a doorway. You nod silently, and the clockmaker gestures toward a narrow staircase spiraling down into shadows. Each step creaks under your weight, the sound echoing like small ripples in a vast, still pond. As you descend, the faint ticking of clocks fades into something deeper, a hum that feels less like sound and more like the pulse of the earth itself. The air grows cooler, denser, tinged with the faint scent of metal and old paper. You reach the bottom, and there it is, a vast subterranean chamber glowing faintly with the dim reflection of hundreds of brass mechanisms. They hang suspended from the ceiling like constellations made of gears, each one turning with impossibly slow precision. You pause, your breath catching. It feels like you're standing inside a clock that's larger than any room, any city, maybe even larger than time itself. This is where I keep the ones that listen, the clockmaker says quietly, his voice reverberating in the chamber. You notice one particularly strange device in the center. It resembles a massive pendulum, but instead of swinging, it twists slowly in an endless spiral. Its surface is engraved with symbols you don't recognize. Some look like ancient scripts, others like star maps. As it moves, it creates patterns of light that dance on the stone walls, patterns that almost resemble memories. A mainstream fact rises unbidden. Early scientists believed pendulums could reveal hidden truths about gravity, magnetism, even the rotation of the Earth itself. But in some cultures, pendulums were also tools of divination, swinging to answer questions whispered in the dark. The clockmaker steps closer to the spiral pendulum and places his hand lightly upon it. The hum deepens, and you feel an unusual sensation in your chest, a tug, like something inside you is syncing with the rhythm. Then comes the anecdote. You remember an old story of a watchmaker in Vienna who built a timepiece that would stop exactly 1 second before its owner died. No one could explain how it worked. Some said it was cursed, Others believed it was simply so attuned to its maker's soul that it shared his fate. Historians still argue about that tale. Was it a fabrication to lure customers? Or was it a glimpse into the strange, delicate ways that human intention leaves imprints on the things we create? The clockmaker smiles faintly. Machines carry more than function, he murmurs. They carry longing. Your gaze drifts to another corner of the chamber, where a smaller clock sits under glass. It has no face, no numbers. Instead, it shows shifting images, sometimes a child laughing, sometimes a falling leaf, sometimes nothing at all. You realize with a strange shiver that it's displaying moments, fragments of time that feel familiar yet distant, like dreams you've half forgotten. Some clocks measure what the heart remembers, the clockmaker says, not what the mind demands. You inhale deeply. The cool air tastes faintly metallic, grounding you in this surreal place. As you exhale, you notice your body loosening, your thoughts slowing. The chamber feels like it's breathing with you, expanding and contracting in silent unison. A single quote from Nietzsche drifts through your mind. There are no facts, only interpretations. You feel the weight of that here, where time itself seems less like a fact and more like a shape shifting with every turn of brass. For a brief moment, you imagine what it would be like if time stopped. Not in chaos, but in perfect stillness. A city frozen mid-step, the sea suspended in a glassy wave. Your own thoughts hanging in quiet suspension. Would it feel like freedom? Or would it feel like being trapped in amber? A faint, clever thought crosses your mind. If time were a creature, would it resent being measured? The clockmaker turns toward you, almost as if he sensed that thought. Perhaps it does, he says softly. Perhaps it hides pieces of itself where no gears can reach. He leads you to a narrow alcove at the far end of the chamber. Inside sits a final machine, small but different from the rest. It's not made of brass, but of something darker, duller, almost like stone. There are no moving parts, only a single keyhole in the center. This one, he says, doesn't tell time at all. It keeps it. You stare at it, unsure what he means. It holds every second you thought was lost, he explains. Every breath, every glance, every forgotten heartbeat. Turn the key, and it will show you what you've misplaced. You feel a sudden weight in your chest. Do you really want to see what you've forgotten? The clockmaker studies you for a moment, his gaze steady but kind. Most people think they want to know everything time has taken, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. You hesitate. Your fingers twitch as if reaching for the key, but something inside you whispers not yet. Instead, you step back, inhaling deeply, letting the cool air steady you. As you exhale, you feel a quiet acceptance of time's flow, of its mysteries, of the way it shapes you, even when you're not watching. And as you turn back toward the spiral pendulum, you notice its slow movement has changed. It's no longer just twisting, it's pointing toward another door you hadn't seen before, hidden in the shadows. The clockmaker's eyes meet yours. Shall we see what lies beyond the workshop? You follow the direction of the pendulum's silent invitation, stepping toward the hidden door. Its surface is smooth and dark, unlike the brass and wood textures that fill the rest of the chamber. It doesn't have a handle, only a faint outline where it meets the stone wall. The clockmaker places his palm against it. You hear a muted click, and the door glides open with a whisper, revealing a narrow hallway. A soft, golden glow spills out, warmer than the pale luminescence of the subterranean chamber. Beyond this, he says, are the clocks that don't measure hours at all. Your footsteps echo gently as you follow him through the passage. It feels longer than it should, bending slightly like a corridor in a dream. The air becomes warmer, tinged with a faint sweetness, like dried flowers pressed between old book pages. Finally, the hallway opens into another room. This one is unlike anything you've seen. It's filled not with ticking mechanisms, but with stillness. Hanging in the air like fragile lanterns are globes of glass. Inside each globe is a tiny moving scene, a bird taking flight, a candle guttering in a breeze, a child reaching for an apple. Time itself seems trapped in fragments, each moment looping endlessly without sound. These are the clocks of memory, the clockmaker whispers. You lean closer to one and see a scene of a long forgotten afternoon. A simple one, sitting by a window with rain streaming down. You recognize the feeling even if the details escape you. There's a sharp ache in your chest, like a nostalgia for something you can't quite name. A mainstream fact drifts into your thoughts. Psychologists have long studied how the brain doesn't record time evenly. Memories aren't stored like a neat calendar. They're scattered, reshaped, edited by emotion. That's why some moments stretch endlessly in recollection, while years can collapse into a single breath of remembering. The clockmaker lifts another globe, and inside you see a memory that doesn't belong to you. A medieval square filled with bells ringing, people laughing, shadows stretching long against cobblestones. Memories aren't always yours alone, he says. They belong to the fabric of time. You're just borrowing some of them. It makes you think of an unusual anecdote you once heard. A patient in therapy who, under deep hypnosis, vividly described memories of a life centuries before their birth. When they awoke, they claimed they'd never heard of the names or places they spoke. Skeptics called it fantasy. Others whispered it was a glimpse into something deeper, a collective memory woven through time itself. Historians and psychologists still argue about such things. Are they remnants of imagination? Or is memory like an ocean? Each person a single wave but connected to the same deep water? The clockmaker smiles faintly. You're starting to see why I build these things. His words linger in the warm stillness. Nearby, a glass sphere shows a young man carving tiny gears by candlelight. His hands tremble slightly, but his eyes burn with quiet determination. For a moment, you suspect you're looking at the clockmaker himself, younger and less weathered. But then the scene shifts. His hands blur, the candle flame freezes, and you're left staring at your own reflection in the glass. You blink, unsettled. The clockmaker says softly, "Time doesn't just hold you, it mirrors you." Your breathing slows, sinking to the rhythm of the quiet room. You notice the sensation of your chest rising and falling, the subtle weight of your body. The stillness here seems to amplify every small awareness, grounding you in both the present and the eternal. A short quote from Carl Jung flits through your thoughts. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. You feel the truth of that now, standing amidst these delicate spheres of frozen moments. They're not just clocks, not really. They're fragments of consciousness, captured and suspended. The clockmaker touches one globe gently, and the entire room seems to hum in response. Most people fear losing time, he murmurs, but they never ask where it goes. You're quiet for a long moment. Finally, he gestures toward the far side of the room, where another door waits, this one smaller, older, made of wood. It seems out of place among all the glass and light. What's beyond there, you ask? He pauses, considering his words. That is where the first clock waits. The one that has no gears, no pendulum, no numbers. The one even I didn't build. A faint shiver ripples through you. The thought of a clock without parts makes you uneasy. What could it measure? Or who? The clockmaker turns toward the wooden door, his expression unreadable. Would you like to see the beginning of time? You hesitate. Part of you wants to turn back, to stay in the safety of the familiar ticking world. But another part of you, a deeper, quieter part, leans forward with curiosity. You nod. The clockmaker smiles almost sadly. Then let's not waste another second. Together you step toward the wooden door. Your fingers graze its surface, rough and warm, almost like skin. And as it creaks open, a strange sensation washes over you, like falling forward, but with no ground to catch you. Beyond the threshold is not a room, but something vast. It isn't darkness nor light, but a kind of endless presence. Shapes shimmer faintly in the distance, too far to see clearly. The air feels alive here, like it's humming with something ancient. The clockmaker steps inside first. Here, he says, time began and still begins. Your foot hovers at the edge, ready to follow. You step across the threshold and the air changes instantly. It feels thicker yet weightless, like stepping into a dream you've had before, but can't quite remember. The floor beneath you isn't stone or wood, if it's even a floor at all. It's soft, faintly shimmering, and every step sends ripples outward like a pebble dropped in water. The clockmaker waits ahead, his figure silhouetted against a shifting horizon. There is no ceiling, no walls, no sense of near or far. You've entered something beyond a room, beyond even a place. This, he says quietly, is where time doesn't tick, it breathes. You stand still, feeling it. At first you can't tell what he means, but then you notice it, a subtle rhythm, like a slow inhale and exhale, vast and cosmic. The entire space seems to pulse, not like a machine, but like something alive. And in that pulse, you catch glimpses, a spiral of galaxies blooming like flowers, a single drop of water forming and falling, a child's laughter echoing from nowhere. All of it happens in one breath, simultaneous and infinite. It reminds you of a mainstream fact you once read. Some physicists believe time is not truly linear, but more like a landscape. Everything that has ever happened and will ever happen exists at once, and we are simply moving through it like travelers. Here, you're no longer moving through time. Time is moving through you. The clockmaker tilts his head, studying your expression. You feel it, don't you? You nod slowly. Words seem impossible here. There are no clocks here because nothing is lost, he says. Every second you thought was gone, every moment you wish to hold on to, it's still here, waiting, breathing. Your mind drifts to an unusual anecdote you once heard about a woman who, during a near-death experience, claims she saw her entire life at once, not as a timeline, but as a glowing tapestry where every moment was connected. She said she understood things she'd never understood before, simply because she could see the whole pattern. You wonder if this is what she meant. The clockmaker walks further into the vastness, and you follow. As you do, you notice shapes forming out of the shimmering haze. They're clocks, but not like any you've seen before. One is made entirely of light, spinning silently like an orbiting planet. Another appears to be carved from pure shadow, its hands moving backward. A third is not even a clock at all, but a tree, its branches heavy with golden fruit that glows faintly. Not all clocks measure time, the clockmaker says softly. Some measure memory, some measure possibility. You touch the trunk of the tree clock. It feels warm, alive. One of the glowing fruits falls gently into your hand, and for a heartbeat, you see something impossible. A version of yourself sitting quietly by a lake you've never been to, but somehow know. You're older there, calmer, happier. Then the vision fades. Historians still argue whether time is an illusion, a construct of human perception, rather than a fundamental truth. Some say it exists only because we can't comprehend eternity any other way. Here in this strange living expanse, you start to believe that argument. The The clockmaker smiles faintly. Nietzsche once said, "Time is a circle, but it's more than that. It's every shape you can't imagine." Your breath slows. You feel it filling your lungs, cool and deep, then leaving gently. In this place, even breathing feels sacred, like it connects you to the rhythm all around you. Most people fear time because they see it ending. The clockmaker continues. But here, you see it never ends. A soft laugh escapes you, quiet, almost ironic. So why do we build clocks at all, you ask? The clockmaker tilts his head, considering. Because without them, we forget we're travelers. Clocks remind us we're moving, even if the journey's endless. For a moment, the space grows even quieter. Then something shifts. A faint sound rises, like distant bells ringing underwater. The horizon ahead starts to ripple, revealing what looks like a final doorway. It glows faintly, not gold or silver, but a color you can't name. That, the clockmaker whispers, is the last clock, the one that doesn't measure past or future, but the only moment that truly exists. Your pulse quickens. The present, you ask? He nods. You glance back briefly, half expecting to see the wooden door you enter from. But there's nothing there now, just endless shimmering space, as if the past is already dissolved into the breathing rhythm of this place. You can step through, the clockmaker says softly. But know this, once you see it, you can't unsee it. You hesitate. A thought flickers in your mind. Maybe you don't want to see the final clock. Maybe it's enough to know it exists. But another part of you, the same part that followed him down here, that touched the brass universes and the frozen memories, leans forward. "I want to see it," you whisper. The clockmaker smiles, serene and sad at once. "Then come with me." He steps toward the glowing doorway, and you follow. As you move closer, you feel an odd sensation, like everything you've ever been is peeling away. Names, faces, fears, even time itself feels like it's loosening its grip on you. When you're finally in front of the doorway, the hum of the place grows louder, not in sound, but in feeling. You understand suddenly that what waits beyond isn't a clock at all, but something more. The clockmaker touches the edge of the doorway. "Ready?" You inhale deeply, the air tasting like snow and sunlight and memories all at once. And you step through. You step through the doorway, and the universe inhales with you. Everything changes, again, but this time there's no shape, no shimmer, no horizon. There is simply now. It's almost impossible to describe. The air feels still, yet alive. You're standing in a space that doesn't seem to have dimension. There's no up, no down, no past, no future, just a strange, soft clarity, like waking up from a dream you didn't know you were dreaming. The clockmaker's beside you, but his presence feels different here, lighter, less solid. He doesn't speak at first. He simply lets you stand there, waiting for you to notice. And you do. You notice the absence of everything you thought made up time. No ticking, no flowing, no movement at all. And yet, you also sense everything. Every moment you've lived, every moment you will live, all layered on top of each other like threads in a vast tapestry. They're all here, existing simultaneously. "This," the clockmaker finally says, his voice echoing like a soft bell, "is the present." You blink. "But it feels like all of it," you whisper. He nods. "Because it is." The present is not a sliver between past and future. It is the entire field they grow from. Your mind drifts back to a mainstream fact you once read, that the human brain can only perceive time in fragments. That even as you think you're living in the present, you're actually living milliseconds behind reality. Your mind stitching together sensory inputs to create the illusion of now. Here, there's no illusion. Here, you see what the brain tries to protect you from, the vastness of existence without sequence. And for a moment, it's terrifying, but then it's not. A memory surfaces, a strange anecdote you once heard about a monk who meditated so deeply that he claimed to have felt centuries pass in a single breath. When asked how he didn't go mad from the weight of it, he smiled and said, "It's only heavy if you try to carry it. You breathe in, slow and deliberate, and as you exhale, the fear softens. The weight lifts. It's not heavy anymore. It just is." The clockmaker gestures with one hand, and suddenly you see them. Clocks everywhere, but not like before. These aren't brass or shadow or light. They're made of experiences. One clock is a child's laugh, frozen in a crystal sphere. Another is the final glance someone gave before leaving forever. Another is a moment of pure silence. Every second you've ever lived is still here, the clockmaker whispers. Every joy, every sorrow, every breath, and none of it is lost. You feel your chest tighten, not with sadness, but with a strange, deep gratitude. Historians still argue whether time itself is even real. Some say it's a human invention, a way to make sense of change. Others say it's woven into the very fabric of the universe. Standing here, you start to see that both might be true. The clockmaker smiles faintly. Jung once said, "Time is a child playing a game." And you understand now, time isn't cruel. It isn't kind. It's simply playful, shifting, dancing between shapes, like the clockmaker himself. You take another breath, feeling the air fill you slowly. Your shoulders release, your jaw softens. Your eyelids feel heavy, but peaceful. "Do you see now why I built the clocks?" the clockmaker asks quietly. "Yes, you say." Your voice sounds small but steady. "To remind us of the dance." He nods, pleased. "And to remind us that even when they stop ticking, nothing truly ends." A light joke forms on your lips, almost instinctively. "So does that mean I never really lose time when I procrastinate?" The clockmaker actually laughs, a soft, warm sound. "In a way, yes. Even your wasted seconds belong here." You smile. It feels good, easy. Then slowly, the space begins to shift again. The stillness doesn't end exactly, but it folds itself neatly away, like a blanket being smoothed over. You sense the doorway behind you now, glowing faintly, calling you back. "It's time to return," the clockmaker says. "But remember, you've seen the field. You've felt it. You'll never be the same." You glance at him one last time. "Will I ever see you again?" He shrugs lightly. "You'll see me in every clock. In every moment you notice you're alive." And with that, he fades. Not gone, but diffused into the very air. You step backward through the doorway, and the shimmer of the workshop returns. The brass universes, the ticking echoes, the strange, beautiful stillness that lingers even after he's gone. You're back where you started, and yet you're not the same. You exhale slowly, deeply, feeling the weight of the moment settle gently into your bones. Outside, the world is still moving. Clocks still tick, people still rush, still worry, still chase. But you know now that beyond all of it, there's a place where time simply breathes. And you carry that place inside you as you leave the clockmaker's hidden universe. And now as you return to your own quiet space, your room, your bed, the familiar softness of your pillow, let your breath slow again. Inhale, feeling the cool air drift in, then exhale, releasing the day's weight. The clockmaker's universe still lingers in your mind, doesn't it? That strange space beyond past and future, where every moment rests gently together. You can feel it now, even in this simple, ordinary room. It's there in the hum of silence around you, It's there in the soft rhythm of your own heartbeat. Notice the present moment, just as it is. No rushing, no reaching, just this one breath, and then this one, and another. Because even here, in the smallest, quietest seconds, the whole of time is breathing with you. The brass universes, the endless clocks, the shimmering field, they were never separate from you. They're in every laugh you've shared, every memory you've held, every dream you've yet to dream. Nothing is lost, nothing ever really ends. As you drift towards sleep, remember the clockmaker's final words. You'll see me in every moment you notice you're alive. So let your eyes grow heavy. Let your mind soften into quietness. The night will hold you gently, and time will breathe, endlessly patient, endlessly kind. And maybe, just maybe, in your dreams tonight, you'll hear the faint ticking of a clock that doesn't count down, but only reminds you that you are here,